In this episode, let's talk about religion and God and religiosity.
If you are offended by religious jokes, you are a human being. If you are avenging religious jokes, you are a fundamentalist.
ये बहनों ये जो आग लगा रहे हैं टीवी पे उनके जो दृश्य आ रहे हैं ये आग लगाने वाले कौन हैं उनके कपड़ों से ही पता चल जाता है।
हम नहीं जानते हिंदू मुसलमान कौन है, कोई कुछ नहीं है, वो हमारा अपना है।
One side uses the politics of secularism to communalize on religious grounds. The other side allows polarization to run amok.
चुनाव खत्म हो चुके हैं, हिंदू मुसलमान वाला मुद्दा खत्म नहीं हो रहा है।
हिंदू अलग संस्कृति है, मुस्लिम अलग संस्कृति है।
हिंदू मुस्लिम की राजनीति करोगे तो इतिहास आपको माफ नहीं करेगा।
This actually, let's talk about, is on popular demand because we had a brief discussion on religion during one of the haftas, and because in haftas it was sparked off by a letter I think we'd got from somebody.
Yeah, I think it was actually the incidents in France that really sparked this, no?
Yeah.
A teacher decapitated on the street right in front of his school.
A history teacher who discussed cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad with his students was beheaded.
Named as Samuel Paty, a teacher in his 40s, brutally murdered on this street.
And the suspect was shot dead later by the police in Paris.
It's understood the murderer was incensed because the teacher had started a debate with his pupils about caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad.
So then we got a lot of emails that was a very interesting discussion. We should dedicate one hafta to only talking about religion and each panelist's view because they were very interesting views. So since we cannot make hafta about religion, we said we'll do a Let's Talk About Religion, which will be available to subscribers only. But this shorter free version is for you Mufat Khors also. So you can also pray to God and earn some money and give for independent media because that's the only way media remains free. On that note, let's talk about religion.
Religions are basically most successful stories told.
I don't think there's been a more fascinating invention than religion.
But if you tell him, die for God, that's much easier to do. So that's how these religious thoughts come to dominate.
When religion goes to a community, it turns into an orthodox dogma.
Religion makes us more defensive.
Because it's kept women so backward for so long and it's tried to control women for so long.
And religion is something you have to so tiptoe around.
Politics with religion is bad. There is no ifs and buts about it.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to Let's Talk About.
Joining me on this chat about religion is all our in-house team. On the phone line is Anand Vardhan. Hi Anand.
Hello.
Also joining me is Shardool from Bhopal. Hi Shardool.
Hi.
In the studio is Raman sir. Hi Raman.
Hi.
Mehraj Lone.
Hello.
Manisha Pande.
Hello.
And my name is Abhinandan Sekhri. I will just briefly tell you what we will talk about. And we will explore the following three things. One is religiosity as a concept. Is it a virtue? Is it a vice? Or is it neither? It is just like having curly hair or straight hair or preferring, lemon squash to orange squash. So there's no value association with it. Historically, has religion done more good than harm to the world? Because that was one of the things that was a lot of males said that, it is done X, Y, Z. And the third thing is how much practically and theoretically should it be separated from political governance in a country? These are the three things that has religion done more damage or done more good to the world? Historically, I think religion has done way more good than not. Because until science came to us and logic and the Enlightenment came and all these things came and now we know you should not do these things. These are a set of moral principles based on, basic justice, basic human values has come about. Until the times those values were established, I think the only thing that helped us not to remain primitive beasts who were just randomly killing each other and gouging each other's eyes out is religion.
What's the etymology of religion? Old French word, then Latin, basically talking about reverence. Basically talking about individual connecting to some higher spirit. It looks good when it comes to the individual. But when religion goes to a community, it turns into an orthodox dogma. That's what I have felt. What you are talking about religion in the primitive society, maybe it was a binding factor. But now in medieval, I think all wars were fought on religion. Okay. So it has done more harm.
I agree to that point that it has done way, way more good than harm. And I would propose that it will continue to do so. There is, science isn't a substitute for religion. As for this idea that, there's this religiosity, that it has done harm, there have been wars and stuff, First, before I speak, so I'll talk from the sort of the Islamic perspective, because that's my framework of understanding religion. So as for this idea that wars have come, rest of the things that are ascribed to religion, so there's religion and there's religious thought. In, for example, Islamic theology, there's this religion that came from God. If you believe in God, obviously, Muslim, if you're a Muslim, you believe in God. So that came from God. And then there is religious thought that sprang out of it. The bugbear right now, which like sort of this, what do you call it, millstone around the neck of Muslims, is that there's been a lot of violence in the name of Islam. So that comes from this particular religious thought, which is called Islamism.
Religions are basically most successful stories told. The appeal of a successful story and the enduring appeal of a successful story is what sustains appeal of religions. So if you pose this question, would be just on the lines of posing, has the state done good or bad? Because the state was, if you go by social contract theory, it came to be an antidote to anarchy. So religions and successful stories, narratives came as an antidote to moral anarchies. So in that sense, there are two alternative histories possible. One that suggests that it has caused violence. And second alternative history is that if religions were not there, maybe the moral anarchy, or one can do anything without any restraints of social code, then there might have been more violence.
When you're assessing religion and whether it's good or bad, there are two ways to assess anything good or bad. Is whether you look at it from the point of view of whether it's good or bad for society and whether it's good or bad for individual. And when you look at religion and society, net, I think it's fascinating. I don't think there's been a more fascinating invention than religion. Man trying to understand himself, using poetry, using verses, language, mythology, creativity, so much to come up with the system of living which has also transcended boundaries. I mean, it's also, really got geographies closer as religion spread. So there, I think, good or bad, I don't know, but for sure it's possibly the most fascinating invention. When you come to individual, then I have to look at it as a woman. And I often think that collectively, if you look at it, what it's done to women, I'm sure it's played a huge role in keeping us really backward and maybe robbing us from our chance of being equal. So yeah, it helped men in their affairs and their politics, in how they went about life. But I think it kept women really backward for a very long time.
I sort of contest the question, because how do you define religion? Are we talking about rituals? Are we talking about iconography and myths, which include superstitions, or are we talking about philosophy that emanated from it? So rituals and iconography is irrelevant today. But here's the tricky part. The peculiar aspect of religion is that its importance seems to increase in life when things are not so good. Like when there's chaos and you seek not only solutions, but some intellectual comfort. Doing good or doing bad is subjective. It depends on the population. But I would suggest that on philosophical side, it has done more good than bad. But on ritual side, it has done more bad than good.
That was just a sneak peek because this episode is behind a paywall. If you want to hear the entire episode and more amazing podcasts like Let's Talk About and NL Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry. Support independent media, support Newslaundry.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो, मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.